6:03. Okay, we're recording, and first item, I don't know if Mike is on yet, but the first item on the agenda is facilities and ground maintenance. If Mike's not on, we can move to the next one and circle back.
Hey guys, yeah, I'm on. I apologize. For whatever reason, my computer, camera, and mic isn't functioning, so I had to call in.
Okay, no worries. Okay, you're up, Mike, anyway.
All right, sounds good. Okay, quick update. Grounds, we have just beautification of campus going on. A lot of the flower beds just being weeded, mulched, flowers being planted. Mowing just started about early last week, just because the weather's been not quite cooperative. Maintenance, same thing. It's since the last update, it's pretty much the same thing. It's boilers on, it's boilers off. Just run into overheating areas because the temperature is just, it's been locked in that middle area where it's just uncomfortable. We've started yesterday going school by school, getting the air conditioning switched over. The temperature looks like it's changed for good. It looks like we have, obviously you've been outside, the humidity level is very high. It's almost oppressive for this time of year. So we've been going through school by school. Took us all day yesterday to get 2 schools done. We should be wrapped up today. I take it back. We will be wrapped up today. Everything was shut down last year really well without incident. So everything is starting up this time relatively easily. We're doing a lot of cleaning of coils and things like that. One update with maintenance is Mike Fish, our maintenance mechanic carpenter, has resigned his position. That was effective as of 5/6, which was last Friday. So we're down a guy, probably get posted early next week. So I don't see that position being filled probably till July 1 if we're lucky. So we'll have to just double back with the guys we have and try to clean up some of the school dues that have been left over and what we have moving forward. Okay, for capital projects, now that everything's been passed, I'm starting to begin the timeline of projects and trying to get contractors in order, get them in line for when we could start and things like that. The one good thing that we had, like I had mentioned with the last month's meeting, we did get the ductwork cleaned, all the units cleaned at the elementary school. So that was a positive, made a big difference. It was just typical dirty, nothing out of the ordinary. Took them 5 days. The contractor was here Monday through Friday. It was the 4/11 to 4/15. They did a nice job. They're preparing a report now with pictures, which was what was on our RFP. So we should have the full report probably within a week or two, I would imagine. I'm sure you guys have questions with COVID, with all the spiking numbers, but one thing that we've done this year is we didn't change any of our mitigation strategies. So we've left everything as is, changing filters more often than required. We are cleaning units more often than required. Units are running more fresh air, even with that was the one bonus that we had the last 6 weeks or so, was we could open the fresh air with no issues. We'll have a little bit of humidity coming in the building at this point, but it is what it is. The chillers will be on, condensers will be on, so we're very confident that we'll have no issues with the COVID.
Okay.
Hey, Mike, I'm sorry, I'm not quite sure if you have on your update to talk about the condition of the parking lots.
Yeah, that was actually my last item. So I'm sure everyone's heard and seen the conditions of our parking lots and School Road have deteriorated pretty rapidly over the last 6 months. This fall, winter, spring has been very, very rough. I'm very thankful. I was in contact with Jonathan Louise, so he got me in contact with John Conti. So the DPW helped us out quite a bit. They've done quite a bit already on School Road. And while I was on vacation last week, I believe it was the week before, a Thursday or Friday, they went to the middle school bus loop, which is the main area, the main drop-off loop and main entrance of the middle school, and they did a repair for us. It looks really good at this point, but we still have about 5-6 weeks of buses going on it twice a day. So we'll see how that looks. We'll see what happens. There's a lot of spidering. So the pieces they're popping out little by little. It could be 4-inch diameter piece popping out. So what they did is they did a nice patch for us, but it's not going to help what's already been damaged.
Mm-hmm.
But what we did was we went through the main parking lot of the high school, which is the senior lot, most of the teacher lot. We have 3 quotes. We went to the front of the middle school and went road to road, just like the high school. We have 3 quotes. So God forbid we do have to do something. We do have 3 contractors in line, 3 separate prices, all with the same job scope on it, just in case we have to do something.
What's the scope of the jobs that you have quote for?
For the most part, the high school is going to be just reclaim 2 inches, which is the top layer of the asphalt, and then put another base layer of 2 inches down. And that's 2 inches compacted, not 2 inches then compacted.
Mm-hmm.
The middle school, however, the first, I think it was 18 feet. Don't quote me. 17, 18 feet off of the curb line, it went through both layers. So that is going to be right down the process. And then that'll be the binder coat and the other. So it'll be 4 inches total on top of that. The 17, 18 feet off of that to the curb line, which is where the cars park, that'll just be a reclaiming of 2 inches and then putting down 2 inches. And it'll all be evened out, all be graded, new curb line and everything. But we'll have to reassess come another month from now and see where we're at and see if we'll have to do anything for the start of the school year.
What's the price tag roughly?
Roughly. Let me just go to a folder.
It's okay,
I believe we get. Okay.
Yeah, Mike. So in terms of the range, we're looking from mid-60s up into the highest price we've had is about 104,000. So that's pretty much the range just to do the middle school. Now, the concern that we have with overall with the parking lots is that we haven't necessarily, when we should have, we did not do the P&M, right? We didn't do the cracks and stuff like that. So they've really deteriorated over time. Now, if you've had a chance to go to the middle school this past winter, there were craters. So pretty much from the entrance of the swimming pool all the way up, maybe a little further back, there were really deep craters. So it's what we have right now is a stopgap. But we may need to do something a little bit more. And from our perspective, if this patchwork does not hold, it's not beneficial to us to continue to patch. I mean, it will just be more beneficial just to redo the entire lot,
right,
all the way to the back. So, I mean, that was one of the items that I had as a recommendation to do. But as Mike mentioned, we're waiting to see if this patchwork will hold up.
Okay.
It's really, if you drive around campus, you can pretty much get a sense as to the condition that our parking lots are ran into the road. We're always just mindful, right, of just the cost and if items should be a capital, if it should be operating cost. I know the town is planning to do paving, but I do not think that our phase that school road and the parking lots on school property. Schools just on property is a part of that plan.
Okay. So what you're saying we may have to go back to Board of Finance at some point?
Well, yes and no. If we make a decision that we want to do this, and we can do it as a part of our operating budget, we do have some capacity there. If the decision is made not to do it as a part of operating budget, then at that time we would go to the Board of Finance.
Okay.
But I think we will know a little bit more in the next month or so. And if we need to make a decision prior to the start of school, we may just make a quick call just to have a quick meeting just to get final approval on this.
Yeah, I think. Will we know before we close out the year, because we have excess this year?
Yeah, no, I think we won't close the year out, or we won't give a final report until about August or so. So we do have some time. So I think we'll be in a good position. If we notice that it's that the condition, if it's deteriorating, we'll put a hold, and we'll include
Mhm.
some funds to take care of this, and then we'll have the final approval at a later date.
Okay. All right. Anything else, Mike?
That's all I have to update. You guys have any questions for me?
I don't. Melissa, Peter?
No, I don't think so, Mike. Thank you.
Okay, yeah, you're
Okay.
welcome.
Next item, in-district transportation update.
So this is really just to keep the board, the members apprised of current situations. We continue to have issues with drivers. So what has been happening over the past couple of months is that we have been combining several runs. And a lot of it has to do, one, with drivers, and secondly, because of charters. So we are finding that we do have a lot of our PM runs. It has not impacted the arrival to school and arrival at home. So the home to school times are pretty much close to where they should be. So in a way, this is somewhat of a positive, because we have some data here that we did not necessarily have before in terms of what our needs are. So we will be having some conversations with the transportation company when we start to plan for the start of the school year, just to kind of take a step back and really just evaluate our run and see if we can do anything differently. I think we know that there is one run that we have not operated for the entire school year. So from an operating perspective, I think we are certain that we can do 21. So again, we're still in that transition phase from COVID. So I'm not quite sure if when we start 22, 23, how things will look. But I do think that just the combining that we're doing now is just provides the data that we just did not have before.
Phil, what's the longest bus ride that a kid may be on
Maybe
these consolidated
45 to 50 minutes at the most.
How long?
45 to 50 minutes. So it's really it's not long, and we don't have a lot of those. So just to give you guys a sense for dismissal, we typically get our all clear at about 4:35 or so, and that all clear is when all the buses are back, not necessarily when they've made the final drop off. And starting at about anytime between 4:15 or so, you can hear the buses back in the yard, because you can hear them backing up. So for the most part, most of our runs are relatively short, but we may have one on the extremes of town that are a little bit longer.
And how are you managing this for like the kindergarten, first grade, the really youngest kids that are now riding different buses than they were anticipating riding? Have we had any problems with
No,
kids finding the right bus or getting home safely?
No, I think we've only had one instance of that, and that happened recently, where someone just got on the bus, with a few students on the bus, and their ride for that day was very, very long. But for the most part, right, because we know that we have a direct communication with first student, so we're very closely with Andrew on this. So Andrew's pretty much in charge of transportation. So we do send a blast out, we're notified, and because we have powers and teachers who do the transportation, they're assisting the students to ensure that they do get on the right buses. So that is it for the transportation update. I just want to, as we're on operations, I want to talk about one other thing. So we have a pickup, a 2005 pickup that we recently replaced. Now, typically what we would do when we have, let's call them excess assets, is that we would list them on GovDeals, just for them to be auctioned. For this particular pickup, we do not have a current registration, and at this time, we are unable to find the title for this vehicle. So I am recommending that we donate this vehicle to charity. This vehicle was not in the best of shape to begin with. This is one of the reasons why we had to, why we really had to replace it. But I just wanted to get a feel from the committee as to what the thoughts are on this.
Yeah, I have no no problem with that.
Okay.
It's a 17-year-old vehicle.
Yes. Yeah, that's my thought. It really has no book value at this point. So we will move forward with making that donation, and then we should be good to go with this.
Okay.
All right.
Yeah, I think that makes sense.
All right. Thank you.
Yeah. Next item of the list is Town of Weston Optimization Committee. Not much more to report there since the last meeting, because I think that the Facilities Optimization Committee, I think, met once and one meeting was canceled. It's going to meet again next week. I think they will have a final recommendation in after 2 years of doing work, a final recommendation that they'll pass on to the Board of Ed and the Board of Selectmen and the Board of Finance. That will probably be the last meeting of the Facilities Optimization Committee. Board of Finance will then do some of their work in terms of trying to better understand or better communicate to the other boards on what the affordability criteria is, impact of mill rate, depending on how much is spent on the projects. What will probably come back is some sort of affordability, in which will then force everybody to reprioritize. My view on this is that after this week, the project will come back to us. We'll look at the final recommendation, and then we'll have some time to do some more work with Tecton as a board, while the Board of Finance is doing some financial projection work. So that's really it. There's nothing a lot new to report there.
And Tony, not so much in terms of the FOC. But we did reach out to Tecton to get a proposal to pretty much do somewhat of a feasibility assessment study for the high school, because that was the one school that was missing in the entire mix. So we did reach out to them. We had a brief conversation with them. So they will be giving us a proposal. I think I was expecting that yesterday, but Jeff said he wasn't quite certain about that. So we don't have a cost as yet. So we should be getting that, if not today, by early next week. And I think the process will be somewhat similar to what was done at the other schools, where they would come and do a walkthrough, pretty much take a look, and sort of kind of tie that back as best as they can to this, using this S&P study as a guideline.
Yeah, I do think that without understanding exactly what the needs are at the high school, which there's some, and then ultimately the real town needs, which Tecton still hasn't done the work, I don't think, I don't think the town can make a final decision on until everything is on the table.
But how is this different than what Silver Petrocelli already did? Didn't they go through all 4 buildings and look for maintenance issues and?
I think they'll use it as a guideline, but I think it's stale right now, and the prices are stale. We have no idea really how much it's going to cost to do the work in the high school.
And I think, and just to add to that, Tony, I think the lens that they're viewing this is a little bit different, right? So their lens is a little bit different, right? I think we just have an opportunity right now to use what was done in the Silver Petrocelli study, and then also now using Tecton's view, because now they have that holistic view of the entire district and what our needs are, what our goals are, and then that will just help us to form a better opinion, so to speak, in terms of what is the way forward. But I think more importantly, the prices were just stale.
Yeah.
Quick question: did you get a quote for adding that high school update from Tecton people?
We're still waiting on that. We did have a conversation with them early oh God, I think this week. So we should be getting something back by early next week.
Yeah, that needs to go through us and then the full board.
Correct.
Yeah, I don't think anybody has the appetite to spend a lot more money on consultants, but this is, I think that you need one, if we're going to do, Tecton is already hired. If we're going to, if we, it's going to be, it's going to be very difficult to not use one person to do everything, because then we'll be comparing apples and oranges and having separate conversations with separate people. It's going to be very difficult. So, let's see what they come up with. Yeah, and Melissa, it's a good question, is could they just reprice based on what Silva Petrogelli did in 2017? Or is it, or are we looking at something completely different? I think that's a good question, and we should have that discussion in public.
Yep, I agree with that.
Yeah. So financial update.
Okay.
Phil?
Yep. So we have a downward adjustment to the projections. We're down 86,000 from where we were this time. So we have a gross projected surplus of 807,000, with a net after, of course, adding money for ERIP of $667,000. Now, so we had a lot of items that are in play here, right? So we continue to see savings in salary, and I keep shaking my head every time I see turnovers or we have FMLs and stuff like that, because it's different. I haven't seen this in the past couple of years. So we have FML savings of 136,000. We do have some turnover savings of 42,000, and sort of kind of tied in to both those two items. We have an increase in our subs for $65,000. We have a positive adjustment for health insurance, and this is because we receive a credit for a retiree who passed away. Professional services. So we have additional costs here, and primarily that's in the area of special education. So we are using a lot of professional services, or a lot of consultants, so to speak, to sort of kind of as a stopgap, and pretty much just to satisfy the needs of this particular group. So we just see an increase in the overall cost there. Also tied into SPED is transportation. We did have a new student that had to be placed out of district, so we were incurring some additional costs there. Supplies and materials. This is really for textbooks, equipment. So this is really the new one, the big one. So I had a conversation with Dan, and he reached out to me, and he did mention that we have additional smart boards above and beyond what is on the current replacement cycle that really are in dire need of replacement. So we have 17 new units that will need to be replaced. It is included here because if the committee agrees, I do want to purchase them for this year. $56,000. And then we had some filing cabinets that we needed to change for HR. Revenue offsets. So we have adjustments.
Before you go on, Phil, are these smart displays smarter than the current smart displays?
Yes, it's completely different from the old smart technology. It's the same thing, but I think it's just it's more like a big screen TV that has the embedded features of smart. So this is currently the ones that we replaced last fiscal year.
Do we still have the light bulb issue where the okay?
Yes, those are the ones that we're phasing out.
Okay.
And this will definitely expand the useful life of these assets.
Mm-hmm.
Revenue offset. We project to be receiving less for theater, and for Medicaid reimbursement. I think I may need to change the Medicaid reimbursement. I think I think we'll be to budget to this one, but when the report was presented, that was the thought at that time. The big adjustments that we have here has to do with excess costs, and this is excess costs for FY last year, FY 2021. So a few things with this. So there's three opportunities, three times when excess cost is updated. The initial update in December. There's a, let's call it a semi-final update that happens at the end of February, 1st of March. And then we have the very final update where all the updates are done, and that is normally done in August. Based on this update, so we did anticipate that we would have somewhat of an adjustment, and the adjustments that we're finding here is just way more than I ever thought. So typically what happens is when you have an end of year adjustment for excess cost, if there's adjustment, that adjustment would come from the Education Stabilization Grant, or ECS. So this was money that we're receiving like a few years ago, over $1 million. And I think we're currently at about $200,000. Our adjustment for this year, last year, is almost $200,000. It's $192,000, which is more than our final payment that we have. ECS, we technically need to write a check to the state for $60,000.
For how much? I couldn't hear you. For how much?
60.
60?
60.
Yeah. And that's because the final adjustment is done after the books are closed.
That is correct. And so last year, being a COVID year, so that we're down both for tuition and we're down for transportation, because it was really an extremely chaotic year, just for everything. So that's really the main reason for that adjustment. Mm-hmm. Now for this year, based on the projection that I saw, I think we're going to be better than budget, but I don't want to make that adjustment to the projection until we actually receive the check. And I do want to just verify the expenditures as well, just to see that any adjustments that needed to be made were made, and if not, that's what I kind of want to give an estimate as to if any adjustments will be needed to be made in August.
Okay.
So that is the update for April.
Are you planning on any more significant purchases of equipment that were slated for next year in this fiscal year?
And from the equipment side, no, I think we're just going to move forward with the lease, just so we can get that leasing cycle up and running. What I do want us to consider in terms of this use of surplus money, do you want to have that conversation?
Sorry?
I'm saying if you want to have a conversation of what we can use, some items that I think we can use the money for.
Yeah, I think we probably should have a list of things that are slated for next year that we can actually purchase if you want.
Yeah, Tony, we really, in terms of needs and items that we do have planned to be purchased, we really don't have a lot, right? The only item that we have really is technology. But outside of technology, we have our textbooks, which we did agree to purchase. So we don't necessarily have a lot of new items to be purchased. We just have regular recurring expenditure for next year. So it doesn't offer us any opportunities to pre-purchase. Last fiscal year, we did do a refresh for music instruments. So that's pretty much it. One major concern that Liz Morris has raised is for the auditorium and for the mechanical lift that they have there for the curtains and a bunch of other stuff. So that's, I guess that software that we're currently using is pretty much outdated, and
Okay.
we're starting to see some issues there, and we have been slowly repairing individual lines for these hoists.
Mm-hmm.
It is a significant cost. I think the final cost for this may be in excess of $100,000. I'm waiting to get we have partial quotes right now. I'm waiting to get the full quote to see what the final cost would be. I'm not necessarily recommending that we purchase it. We could, but I just want to have just a discussion about this entire thing. One thought that we had was trying to partner with Western Arts. I know at one point they sort of kind of took a step back from funding or providing aid, so to speak, for to the schools. But I'm hoping that this will be significant enough that they will consider it. But that's one thing that we can do. Another item that I do want us to seriously consider is we have a final year of payment left for a lease that we have for the security equipment upgrade that we did a few years back. That is $45,000. So I really do want to pay that for this year. And one of the reasons why I do want to pay for this year is because we're starting to see some pressure next year in terms of impacts to the overall budget. We are seeing so far. We made a change for Hurlbut, where we're going to hire. Well, we are hiring a social worker. That social worker is coming in, really significantly above budget. So we are seeing, in terms of shortage area, right? We're seeing social workers, psychologists, SLPs, OTPTs fall within that overall shortage areas from.
Yeah, I think that's exactly the issue. Is if we could, if it's appropriate to do some pre-purchasing or thinking of things that are going to come along next year, and we have the money this year. The reason that I think it's smart to do is because I'm not sure we've fully considered the inflation rate of things that we need to do next year.
Correct.
And so if we create some capacity, I think it's a smart thing to do, because I have a feeling that, things like you just mentioned, we just may be off.
Correct.
Right?
All right. So what I'm going to do, Tony and Melissa, I think Peter just jumped off real quick, is that I am going to adjust the report, and I'm going to put this in as an expenditure for this year, the $45,660.
Mm-hmm. That the 45,664.
This is for lease. This is for the final payment for the.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I think there's a difference between things that we're contractually obligated to pay, but we're moving that forward,
right.
Such as
the
security lease you just mentioned. The other things like the lift and stuff like that. I mean, these are conversations that probably should happen with the full board, because if these were debated as part of the budget process, we would have discussed it publicly and made decisions as to whether we thought that was a good use of money or not. The outcome may still be the same, but I feel a little concerned about making those decisions as a committee.
I think that's exactly right.
Yeah, and again, this was more so for theater. This was more just for information, just to keep you guys abreast as to what's going on.
No, I'm glad you did. I think it's helpful to think about it, and like I said, that everybody may make the same decision that it's a smart thing to do, but we would discuss it as part of a budget, so we should discuss it, I think, as part of this surplus.
Yeah.
Sure. So what we will do, so we know for a fact, if we don't do the entire thing, we have to repair at least 3 lines. We do have an estimate to repair 3 off the 11 lines, and that cost is just under $30,000. So I think that is a needed repair. And I think we have the money. If we don't necessarily have to make any adjustments for that, I think we do have the capacity within our current projections to take care of that. But if we decide to do the entire thing, now that's a broader conversation. But we are definitely, I think we are definitely going to move forward with that with the 3-lane repair, but we'll have the conversation. That I think it's a needed discussion to be had. So between, I guess by the time we get to our final meeting for the fiscal year next month, before we do the end of year updated target, if anything else should pop up, we'll have those discussions. But for right now, these are really the only items that we have.
Okay. All right. No, thanks, Phil. Next item is the budget review, 23 budget review.
23 budget review. So this review really circles around, just ties to health insurance. I think I kind of gave a quick update at the last board meeting that we did get the final rates for health insurance. So the state, initially we were at about an 8%. The state gave us increase, not us, but the plan is being increased for the active group by 10.5%, and for retirees 2.9% and 2.4% for over and under 65. In terms of what that impact will be to the budget, that's going to impact the budget by a net cost to the Board of Education of let's call it $133,000. Now again, so there's two parts to this, right? So to speak. So we have the true increase, and I think I've mentioned several times this year that our census is on the lower side for this year. If we do have any increase to our census, it's going to be an additional cost. And I think if you think about round numbers, we can, on average, we're looking at about $30,000 per new person that we add to the plan. Again, I am going to recommend that we make a request to the Board of Finance because we weren't able to make this adjustment prior to their approval because it came after. I do want to make a request that they just set aside money from our current surplus to put in the non-lapsing account to cover this cost.
Okay.
All right, so we'll have that discussion.
What was what was the last estimate for that you had before the budget was approved?
In terms of the increase?
Yeah.
8%.
Yeah. Okay.
So on the growth side, the increase is $167,000. Not significant in the grand scheme of things, but definitely more than what we expected.
Yeah. Yeah. Which I think it's perfectly appropriate that we create a non-lapsing account for this.
Okay. At the next Board of Finance meeting, I will make that request.
Yep. The other thing is to get ready for next year as well is to really dust off and really have discussion about alternatives.
Yeah. So
that's coming very soon.
It is coming very soon. I think if I heard correctly, we may be starting some negotiations in July, but yes.
And so we have to have our I's dotted and T's crossed and be ready with a plan that we think is appropriate.
Yep. So I've definitely started some preliminary discussions with Brown and Brown. So they they're aware of our current contractual cycle. So they will definitely be working on those numbers for us as usual.
Yeah, we should. When you're ready to discuss, we need to have that discussion.
Sure, I'll let you know. I'll let everyone know.
Okay.
And for dental, we're pretty much on target for that.
Okay. Did we approve at the last meeting the final budget as a board? I wasn't there.
We did not because we were waiting on the referendum.
Okay. All right. So we need to put that on the agenda for Monday.
Okay. or we'll get that on.
Yeah.
And you want that onto the financial update section?
Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah.
perfect.
We need to approve it. All right. Tuition rates.
Tuition rates. So I think in previous years, we did agree to increase tuition rates for both the pre-K program and for the non-resident tuition by the percentage increase of the budget. So you guys have in your packet what those percentage increases will be. For the pre-K program, so this I'm combining 6 and 7, Tony. The pre-K
I'm sorry.
Oh,
Go
I'm saying
ahead.
I'm combining items 6 and 7.
Oh, okay. Okay.
So for the pre-K, we're recommending a tuition increase of $118 to $7,118. And then we have a schedule for our non-resident tuition, and that's also being increased by 2.4%.
Okay.
And we will be. Go ahead, Tony.
How does this compare to sort of private preschools? And, I have no idea, but,
Yeah, we did not do that review for this year. We did
yeah.
this review maybe to pre-COVID, but I didn't. We've been having COVID. We haven't done that in recent years. We will definitely. The plan is to do that for when we start to look at 23-24, but we did not do that look for this year.
Mhm.
But I think at the time we increased our rates to be pretty much on par with similar groups.
Mm-hmm.
So I would say for the most part, we're pretty close.
Melissa, why would someone not pick, like a Weston resident? Like, what are the factors that influence whether they go to a Weston preschool versus somewhere else? Do you know? I mean, I'm so not, it's not in my daily life these days. But
I mean, I think the reason people pick preschools is truthfully at those ages is proximity to their house.
right.
You're the time that you're doing drop-offs is, if you've got kids in the schools, you don't want to be driving from here to there.
Yeah.
And I think that there was a real, from people that I know that did our program at Weston, they liked the idea if their child was nervous or not comfortable about school, that they were in the building, that they got to experience, what what Hurlbut was like and what the teachers
Right.
were like, and what it's more structured
Yeah.
than like a play preschool. But
Yeah.
I'm sure there are parents that look at rankings and things like
Right.
that. I looked at the proximity to my house.
Okay. Great. Okay. Is there anything more on this? I think this makes sense. Right?
Yeah, that's it on the tuition side. On the facility rental side. So again, you guys have the schedule attached for the various rates that we have. I made one slight adjustment for this year where I'm pegging the increase to the most recent CPI. So in previous years, we have pegged it to whatever the budget assumption was. But with just the current rate of inflation, I've decided to peg it to the most recent CPI numbers. And in terms of what the difference is overall, it's not significant, but I think it's just important that we're just mindful of the current lay of the land and just adjust accordingly.
Right. Community. So so someone wants to use the auditorium and stage and they're a private group, right? For an event. Okay. Yes. So it is $145 for the event.
For if you're looking at the high school?
Yeah, let's call it auditorium and stage. High school hourly. Oh, it's hourly. Okay,
yes.
Got it.
Yes.
Okay. All right.
So that's pretty much the price. That's pretty much a price for the facility. If there's
Now,
need for
I have a question. Yeah, I have a question. Not about the price, but what is the approval process for a community or a private group wanting to use one of the facilities on the school campus?
There really is an approval process. I think if we have a private party, as long as we have availability, we have opened it up to those groups. But we haven't necessarily received a lot of requests from private groups to use the facilities.
Okay.
Not since I've been here, anyway, but that's all since been COVID. But for the most part, if we have the capacity, we tend to just allow them to rent it. But I think a lot of people who do use a facility, they do have some kind of affiliation with a Western group.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. Okay. But who does this come to? You?
Yes.
Oh, okay. Okay. Yeah. So I'm sure when you get this, you look at it and you say, okay, who's doing it? What kind of event is this? And you kind of say, oh, okay, that's fine or not.
Absolutely.
Right?
Yep.
Okay.
Because, for example, I think maybe when I just started, we had one group who wanted to use the facility, or I forgot what it was, but it was a long vetted process that we had to go through just to ensure that they were doing the right things. And ultimately, even though these students are outside of a regular school day, that they're doing right by the students. If this is something that it is associated with the students, that's something we can request for. So we try to vet as best as we can.
Okay. I have no questions about this.
No, I don't either. I'm just looking through it. I don't have any questions.
And I know at one point there was some consideration to renting off the turf fields. We did look into that somewhat. I have to just refresh my memory in terms of what the ultimate, what the cost would be, and what the demand is for that. But our facilities are pretty much used every single day. So we really don't have a lot of capacity there because everyone is using our field at some point.
Yeah. Which brings me, I guess the next question is insurance when someone uses our facilities. Is that covered under?
I have to double check on that. I don't remember if we make a request. If someone is renting the facility, right? Let's say they're renting the room, we would need insurance for that. We would definitely be listed as additionally insured for those groups. Yes.
Okay. All right.
And we're making sure that any group using our facility after what happened last year with a few months ago with that security issue, we know that anybody that's using our facilities now has the kind of like emergency protocol binder.
That's correct. We have done that, and we have given it out to the groups, and we have it ready for any new group that we have.
Perfect. That's great.
Okay.
So thank you, Andrew Galley, for putting that together. Yes,
Andrew. Great thinking.
All right. There's nothing else on that. Need a motion to approve Peter, just in time. I don't think that there was anything that you missed here. I think that the only thing is that we have to review the final and approve the final budget on Monday. Other than that, I don't think there was anything here that was significant that you missed. And also, if we have to spend some money this year on things that we were going to do next year, I think that's probably a good thing to do, unless they were not anticipated in the budget next year, which means that we should have a broader discussion at the board as to whether we want to spend the money, since we didn't have a discussion at all about it. So,
right. The only thing coloring that is supply chain inflation, which is
right.
Every purchasing decision A to Z globally. So that'd be the
Yeah.
criteria. Is it going to be available or not?
Right.
Is it a lot more expensive next year? It's possible.
Yeah.
too.
That's right. That's right. And so, can I have a motion to approve the April minutes?
I move to approve the April board minutes of Facilities and Finance Committee minutes.
Can I have a second?
Second.
Thanks, Peter. Any discussion, comments on the minutes? No? All in favor?
Aye, Melissa.
Hi, Peter.
Aye, Tony. Motion passes, minutes approved. Anything else that we should discuss? Phil?
Nothing I can think of.
Nothing. I think we have covered everything that I wanted to cover for today.
Okay. With that, can I have a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Okay, just remember, whenever you have health insurance updates, we should discuss, Phil, okay?
Very well.
Okay, thank you, everyone. Have a great weekend. See you on Monday.
Monday.
Okay, you as well.
Yep.
See you Monday.
Yep. Meeting adjourned.
Bye-bye.